Hey guys, welcome to GED Science Level 2 practice test. So we have got 20 of these. If you haven't done one of our practice tests before, we have 4 levels. That's the same way our app works. So we have topics divided into 4 levels. Level 4 is the hardest, level 1 is the easiest, and so anyway, this one's level 2. So the way I would recommend going about this process is in the description, we have the 20 questions with your answer choices. And so I would go ahead and do that first, then come back, watch the video, see how you did, and hopefully improve your knowledge base on some of these concepts that you'll be tested on your exam. Um, from a score standpoint, and so I usually try to remember to say this at the beginning of each of the videos. If you've heard this more than once, sorry for you to have to keep hearing it. Um, you need a score of 145 in each of the subject areas. So in this case, the subject area is science. 145 is approximately 65%, right? So that's kind of like your bottom line score that you want to be able to see. So 65% in this case would be 13 out of 20 on this test. If you're thinking about college in some form, a little bit higher would be better. So more like 75 or 80%, so more like 15 or 16 out of 20 is really what would be the most useful for that process. And then the only other thing that we have is the mobile app can be, we have a mobile app. The link is in the description as well. I think it could help a lot in terms of interacting with a lot more questions, getting feedback, and videos will customize to you as you're answering questions. So that can be useful as well, as opposed to trying to figure out which videos you need to watch. Okay, so got through all that. Let's go ahead and get into these questions. So first question, supplying the blood with oxygen is the primary function of the respiratory system. Answer D. Okay. Um, so the primary function of the respiratory system, it is to supply blood with oxygen. The reason for this is that we need blood to deliver oxygen to all parts of the body. The respiratory system does this through breathing. When we breathe, we inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. All right, question 2. The system that includes the brain and the spinal cord. Yeah, some version of this question is likely to show up. We want to know that's the CNS or the central nervous system. So the central nervous system, again, that's brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system contains the nerves, which leave the brain and the spinal cord and travel to certain areas of the body. The peripheral nervous system's main job is to send information gathered by the body's sensory receptors to the central nervous system as quickly as possible. The human skeletal system consists of 206 bones, as well as a network of tendons, ligaments, and cartilage that connect them. Right, so that's answer choice A, the skeletal system. Question number 3. Which body system includes the small and large intestine? And that would be the digestive system. Answer choice C for this one. So the digestive system, as far as what makes it up, it's the mouth, esophagus, stomach, and then the small and large intestine. So all of those are part of the digestive system. The main role of the digestive system is to break food into nutrients, which cells can then use for energy. Question 4. Which of these muscles can we voluntarily control? Okay, so we want to know that the skeletal muscles are the ones that we can control. We don't have control over smooth muscles or cardiac muscles, and they work without our conscious effort. The skeletal muscles, though, they are connected to bones and provide mechanical force needed to move. Smooth muscles can be found in the digestive system or in the surrounding blood vessels, mediating blood pressure, cardiac muscles are found in the heart. Okay, so those are the differences of those answer choices. Okay, which part of the brain controls speaking? Right, and so we want to be familiar specifically with the cerebrum and the cerebellum, the differences. Hopefully we didn't at least pick spinal cord. Like, we should have at least been able to eliminate that one, right? The spinal cord has nothing to do with speaking. So the brain is made up of the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. The cerebrum controls thinking, seeing, and speaking. The cerebellum facilitates movement. The brainstem controls breathing and heart rate. So the spinal cord, though, is not part of the brain. So, but you are going to have to be familiar with those, right? And so you don't have to, there's a lot more detail that you could know about those three, but we do need to know the basic functions of both cerebrum, cerebellum, and brainstem. Okay, supplying the blood with oxygen is the primary function of, and this is awfully similar to a question we already saw, respiratory system. So the primary function of the respiratory system is to supply the blood with oxygen in order for the blood to deliver oxygen to all parts of the body. Okay, the respiratory system does this through breathing, as we have said previously, just a couple minutes ago. When we breathe, we inhale oxygen, exhale carbon dioxide. Okay, so given such a similar question showed up twice, probably important. It's something we should make sure we understand the basics of the respiratory system. Okay, so question 7. Which of the following plays significant role in helping the immune system identify and neutralize pathogens such as bacteria and viruses? Okay, so that would be antibodies. Antibody is a large Y-shaped protein that is used by the immune system to neutralize pathogens such as bacteria. The antibody recognizes a unique molecule of the harmful agent, which is called an antigen, and then looks to destroy it. Okay, so this, if you got confused between antibodies and antigens, is the antibodies are looking to destroy the antigens. That's how they work. Okay, and then we get into some stuff about Earth here. What is the driving force of plate tectonics? Okay, and so there are just some terms here which tend to be pretty common in this test that we want to be familiar with, right? So when we think plate tectonics, that phrase right there, convection in the Earth's mantle, we need to have just sort of memorized that term and connecting it to plate tectonics. Okay, so convection in the mantle is what drives plate tectonics. Excuse me. Convection happens when hotter areas within the mantle move upward and cooler areas move down. This leads to a horizontal motion in the mantle, close to the Earth's crust, which over time travels significant distances. A similar process of rising and falling occurs in water heated on a stove. All right, so that might help you to visualize that a little bit more. And again, like, so if I go through that and you like, I still need more information, that's where we go to the videos that I will link to at the bottom, right? So we have videos on pretty much all these questions that go into a lot more detail, right? So if it's something you're really not familiar with and that basic answer isn't quite enough, that's when you go to the videos once we're done with this video. And those can help you to further your understanding of, in that case, convection in the Earth's mantle. Earthquakes occur due to violent movement in the Earth's crust. That's what we're looking for there, right? So another very, very important concept is being able to differentiate crust, mantle, inner and outer core. So an earthquake refers to the sudden movement of the Earth's crust. This creates seismic waves. Earthquakes, of course, as we all know, often create a lot of destruction. Question 10. What is a mountain chain that runs along the middle of an ocean basin called? Okay, and that is a mid-ocean ridge. Mid-ocean ridge is an underwater oceanic mountain chain. It's a feature of all ocean basin floors, and it is formed by plate tectonics. Okay, if tectonic plates are moving apart, we want to know what the phrases are for moving apart and moving together, as well as sliding past one another. But for this question, when tectonic plates are moving apart, it is called constructive margin. Answer choice B. Okay, so if two plates are moving away from each other, that's called constructive margin. Destructive margin is when two plates are moving towards one another and colliding. And then finally, transform margin is when two plates are sliding past each other. And so, of course, are there more details about destructive margin, constructive margin, transform margin? Yeah, there are. Do you need to know them for the test? No, you do not, right? You need to know what I just said, right? A one-sentence definition of the differences between destructive, constructive, and transform margin. If you know that, you're good. But it is a common question, so I would definitely be familiar with the differences there. Okay, question 12. Which of the following is true? So we want to know that the inner core is solid, outer core is liquid. So as you go deeper in the earth, temperature and pressure, they both increase. Although the inner core is really very hot, it is solid because it is experiencing very high pressure. The pressure in the outer core is not high enough to make it solid. So that's the reasoning there. Again, a lot of the reasoning is I'm just telling you just hopefully to pique some level of curiosity about how all these things work. But what you really need to know is just this. If you know that, that's the answer to the question, and that's all you're going to have to know for the test. Okay. The reasons for why it's hot, or why it's liquid versus solid, why the inner core is solid, you don't need to know that. Question 13. Which of the following has provided the most information about the structure of Earth's core, mantle, and lower crust? And the answer we want there is that studies of the speeds and travel paths of seismic waves passing through Earth. The structure of Earth's deep interior cannot be studied directly, but geologists use seismic, which are earthquake waves, to determine the depths of layers of molten and semi-molten material within the Earth. Seismic stations can determine the strength of different types of waves, and geologists use these records to establish the structure of the Earth's interior. Okay, only 3 answer choices for this one. Difference between weather and climate. Okay. That one. Weather is short term, climate is long term. Right? So if somebody is talking to you, this can happen sometimes. Right? This is maybe a little bit outside of the context of the exam, but perhaps still learning can happen here. Climate is long term, right? So if somebody, and by long term, we're not talking about like this winter or something. We're not talking, like 1 week or 1 month. So climate is long-term change, weather is short-term. So if somebody is talking about climate change and saying, well, it's been, it's, it's been like a cold summer or something like that. They're talking and they think they're referencing climate change. It doesn't make sense. That's weather. Weather is variable. It's immediate. Climate is long-term and more regional. Most common gas in the atmosphere, that is nitrogen, by a long shot. Nitrogen makes up 78% of the gases in the atmosphere. Oxygen is next at 21%, with argon and carbon dioxide making up less than 1% each. Okay, so that's what you would like to know. Do you need to know 78? No, right? But you would like to know that by far nitrogen is most and that oxygen is second. Okay, and then we get into like layers of Earth's atmosphere. So we need to have some familiarity with this. The outermost layer of Earth's atmosphere is the exosphere. Answer choice D. Tends to be that people aren't familiar with a lot of these, and then they just guess everything stratosphere for some reason. Like, so that's we know that through the app. Like we can see all the answer choices and how people answer. So people answer this question stratosphere a lot. Um, so in terms of layers, this is a very probably the most common question about layers of the Earth's atmosphere. So exosphere is outermost layer, which means it's the upper limit of the atmosphere. The exosphere is located too far above Earth for any meteorological phenomena to be possible. Let's see here, question 17. Because it receives more direct sunlight than any other region, temperatures are always highest at the equator. Answer choice A. This is due really just to simple geometry of Earth's curvature. So a given amount of sunshine in a beam falling on the equator, which points directly at the sun, has a much more intense effects than the glancing rays that are spread over a much larger area of the curving surface near the poles. Okay. Earth's tilt, which is 23.5 degrees, helps to explain variation in sunlight. Because of the tilt of the axis, not all places receive the same amount of sunlight at the same time. Okay, and that's the variation, right? Okay, so this one's a little harder to read on the screen, probably a little bit easier when it was in the description. Um, the correct order of the Earth's atmosphere from innermost to outermost, and the answer that we want is answer choice A. So we'll go ahead and circle it and talk about it. Okay, so the order goes troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere. All right, remembering exosphere was outermost. So the troposphere is 0 to 7 miles. Stratosphere is 7 to 31 miles. Mesosphere is 31 to 50 miles. Thermosphere is 50 to 440 miles, and then finally the exosphere is 440 all the way to 6,200 miles. So you do not, I'm just, again, just describing what it is. You do not need to know how many miles any of these are from Earth or what the range is, but you do need to know the order, right? So you do need to be able to know the basic order, remembering. So again, almost like two questions for one is we know that it ends with the exosphere, right? That's the outermost. So that at least should eliminate answer choice D. And then from there, it would also be good to know that troposphere is the closest. Okay, so if we knew that, that would at least eliminate answer choice C. And the rest of the parts you do have to memorize. It is a common question. I would spend the time necessary to just memorize that, but at least know that innermost is troposphere, outermost is exosphere, that's going to be worth at least one question by itself, just knowing that. And if they ask for this actual order here, then you can, if you know troposphere, innermost, exosphere, outermost, you could at least eliminate two of the answer choices, if nothing else. Okay, and then the ozone layer. So I don't know if you guys took the level 1 practice test, but I think we had, I don't know, several questions that dealt with the ozone layer either through answer choices or through the actual question. And then here it shows up again. Ozone layer is a big deal on this exam. The ozone layer is found within the stratosphere. So ozone molecules in the stratosphere absorb high energy ultraviolet light from the sun, converting the UV energy into heat. Okay, so that gets us to the end of the level 2 practice test. I hope this was useful. If there are things that don't make sense, leave a note in the comments, and we will get back to you and try to clear up anything that doesn't make sense. Again, there are links to more specific videos below all the questions in the description that can be very useful in getting the knowledge base up. And the app is really useful for getting used to interacting with a lot more questions and getting feedback, which is a big part of getting better at answering questions, is just having answered them a lot. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. I will see you on the next video.